In 1923, 3 radio stations began broadcasting in South Africa, one in Johannesburg, one in Cape Town, and one in Durban. These radio stations began broadcasting under licenses from South African Railway, known today as Transnet. In 1927, they merged into African Broadcasting Corporation, owned by wealthy American businessman I.W. Schlesinger, who then sold the company to SABC, which was established by the Apartheid government in 1936. Stay tuned as we unfold the story of South African Broadcasting Corporation. Welcome to our channel, Wave Entertainment. Please consider subscribing so we can keep making more videos. It also helps our channel to grow. Now, without further ado, let's get started with today's video. Radio broadcasting in South Africa began in 1923 under licenses of South African Railway, now known as Transnet. The first radio station was opened in Johannesburg by the Association of Scientific and Technical Science. The second station was opened in Cape Town by Cape Peninsula Publicity Association, and the third station was opened in Durban by the Durban Corporation. They all began broadcasting in 1924. These merged into African Broadcasting Company in 1927, owned by I.W. Schlesinger, a wealthy American media mogul. On 1st August 1936, they were sold to SABC, which was established that year through an Act of Parliament by the National Party. The SABC took over African Broadcasting Company staff and assets. It maintained a monopoly on radio until the launch of Capital Radio in 1979 and then Radio 702 in 1980. Following its establishment in 1936, the SABC established services in what were the country's official language, English and Afrikaans, with African services being established in 1937. Broadcast in African languages such as Zulu, Xhosa, Sesotho, and Tswana followed in 1940. During the National Party rule in 1948, it came under increasing accusations of being towards the ruling party. At one time of its senior management were members of the Broederwoord, the Afrikaans Secret Society, and later from institutions like Stellenbosch University. Springbok Radio was SABC's first commercial radio station, which started broadcasting in 1950. It broadcasted in English and Afrikaans from Johannesburg. The station became a success and attracted advertisers. It also featured a wide variety of programming such as morning talk and news, game shows, soap operas, children's programming, music requests, talk shows, and other musical entertainment. By 1985, Springbok Radio was operating at a heavy loss after losing many of its listeners, with handing over its shortwave frequencies to Radio 5 and facing competition from television. They officially closed doors on 31st December 1985. The SABC News Service was established in 1950. Before it was established, South Africa licensed news from overseas corporations such as the BBC. The BBC broadcasts were seen as giving British viewpoint of current affairs only. There were also concerns that the SABC News Service would push the agenda of the Apartheid government. In 1968, the SABC employed over 100 full-time reporters in the main cities and local respondents all over the country. Overseas news company based in South Africa at the time were AFP, AP, and UPI. Following the establishment of a republic and withdrawal from the Commonwealth in 1961, the Afrikaners' goal was to promote their culture, and so, at first, the SABC's choice of popular music reflected the apartheid initial conservatism, especially on the Afrikaner channel, with musicians such as Nico Carsten. However, Carsten was also banned by the SABC as his music was influenced by the colored and Malay communities of Cape Town. Eventually, musicians broke through the barrier when the young English-speaking Jewish musician and composer Charles Segal collaborated with the old Afrikaner lyric writer Anton de Waal to write songs. Segal's song, like the old Kalahari, became highly popular with the Afrikaans-speaking public. However, there was also tight censorship all over broadcast, particularly of pop music. For example, the music of the Beatles was banned by the SABC between 1966 and 1971. In 1985, the SABC ran a competition to promote South African music. Each of the 15 radio stations represented by an artist entered a song to compete in the National Song Festival. The finals were broadcasted in one of their TV stations. The Radio Port Natal submission won the competition with Don Clark's song Sanibonani, performed by PJ Powers and Hotline. In 1975, after 10 years of controversy and discussions over the introduction of television, the SABC was finally allowed a color TV service, which began experimenting broadcast in main cities in 1975 before services went nationwide in 1976. Initially, the TV service was funded entirely through a license fee but began advertising in 1978. The SABC, both TV and radio, is still partly funded by a license fee which is currently $250 a year. The SABC bought majority of their content from the United States. Some Hollywood production companies though stopped selling programs to South Africa as they were against the apartheid. British actors also boycotted South Africa at some point. Many imported programs were dubbed into Afrikaans and other African languages. In 1981, two channels were introduced: TV2 broadcasting in Zulu and Xhosa and TV3 broadcasting in Sotho and Tswana, both targeted at a black urban audience. The main channel, then called TV1, was divided evenly between English and Afrikaans as before. In 1986, a new channel called TV4 was introduced, carrying sports and entertainment programming, taking over the frequencies used by TV2 and TV3, which then had to end broadcasting at 9 p.m. In 1996, 2 years after the African National Congress came into power, the SABC was restructured. Today, the SABC owns 19 radio stations, 8 TV channels, and is available on analog and digital in 7 countries. With a revenue of 6.6 billion annually, SABC remains one of the biggest media corporations in Africa. Thank you for watching this video. Make sure you like the video and subscribe if you have enjoyed. Don't forget to tell us your thoughts about the SABC story and what are some of the details that you might have left out and what you think about the SABC corporation in today's world.